Thank you. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about work we are doing with my research group, the Department of Architecture, about implementing our research and having an impact, especially working with humanitarian organizations. And I'm going to start with the story of Mary the sheep. She is a character from a children's book based on a real story after the reconstruction in Chile after 2010 earthquake. And she, when she lost her house, the specialists came to help her with design. So they came with their ideas, and they built a solution for them, the best solution, the best design, the best house for her. In this case, a transitional house. And after 1 month, they went and shipped the Mary. Mary was not living in there because they didn't realize what the needs of the ship were. So the result was that the door was too small, she tripped down on the floor, the mat bed was wet for a sheep, wood for a pig, not for a sheep. So this thing gave us some ideas about the difficulty of working with others in organizations, putting ourselves in the shoes of the others. And we have been we found this challenge of having an impact and working in collaboration with these communities and organizations for different reasons. And one, for example, is academic research aims. We are looking for innovation, new theories, generation of knowledge, and that's not always what the organizations or the communities are looking for after a disaster, for example. And also academic timeline. For example, when we get the funding and the project starts, we are just like the emergency passed. So we are able to give our knowledge and information in the reconstruction phase, not in the emergency phase, for example. And also access restriction to academic documents. So usually the information remains in the libraries, specialized libraries, but never reach the communities and the NGOs. And also academic language. This is another barrier that we have been facing. And not only academic language, but language itself. For example, we are working with communities in Latin America and Brazil, and they speak another language. So we are trying to find in my research group ways to have a better communication and dissemination of our research and what we are doing. But why to focus on that, on dissemination? Why is that interesting? It's because we want to have impact. And, well, Research Council says that it's a demonstrable contribution that research makes to society and economy, and it must be demonstrable. That means just like practitioners, policymakers, and there are different ways of measuring impact. And why it's important. And because we have our philanthropic interests, but at the same time, it's important because of research funding. We can't do any of our prototypes or projects if we don't get the money. So. Different institutions and organizations, they fund based on impact, as I said. And different disciplines, they have different ways to do that. In our case, because we are a group of architects and engineers, and we're trying to have impact on the built environment, working with informal settlements, we are doing it this way with very physical objects. So we started in 2011 a collaboration with an NGO called Techo in Latin America, and they build permanent and transitional houses for developing countries for overcoming poverty, but at the same time after disasters. And we thought, well, this is our opportunity, so we thought we will bring a better solution. Very naive from our part. We thought it should be a bigger house with innovative panels, an innovative solution. But going to the fieldwork and working with the communities there, what they really needed was to have different solutions for different communities with different cultures and climatic conditions. And for example, in the case of Sao Paulo, we are working with them, and yeah, we thought like they need a bigger house. Obviously, no, that was the opposite. They needed a smaller house for starting the process of development, because the plots that they have there for improving the quality of life of those families the plots were smaller. So we have the design brief. We started with a smaller house, but taller. So we started with a mezzanine. We built a prototype here in Cambridge, another in Brazil, and like an iteration process, working with the community there, the organization. We built another solution here, and finally, in this summer, we're going to build for 50 families in Sao Paulo. And when the Typhoon Haiyan came in the Philippines, some organizations contacted us to work in collaboration with them. And again, we said, okay, what they need now, we know that, is a specific solution for that culture and climate. And again, we were a bit naive. Because the families there, what they are doing is they are rebuilding by themselves. The organizations, they don't have the capacity of building transitional or permanent house for like the number of families that they don't have houses. So the communities are building by themselves without knowledge, without very simple things such as how to nail the timber can change the quality of the house for the next storm that will be tomorrow. And so what we're doing is we are trying to transmit this information in a very simple way through guidelines for the trainers there, but also for the organizations, but also for the families. And has been very difficult to transmit that very specific and technical information in simple words. So these posters have been very difficult for us to do. So yeah, we have this like difficulty and we're trying to balance this technical information that is needed on the field and at the same time our research questions. And we're trying to do is make a connection between what researchers have like as ideas and also connect them with the field, with the challenges that we have been facing with the humanitarian organizations. So we are creating a knowledge exchange platform, and I'm very glad to say that yesterday we got money. So we have a grant, an important grant for starting this project. And I want to finish with the story of my leadership because it has a good ending. Finally, Mary the Ship itself, she worked with the specialists to improve the quality of the house. So she is using colored wool for isolating the house and having it warmer for the winter. And this, well, it's very simple shack. It's very simple house, but it's like an improvement for to the house that she has before. So thank you for listening. Any questions?
What made you choose São Paulo over cities of Brazil?
So sorry, I can.
Are you considering? Why did you choose São Paulo?
Sao Paulo, because the organization we are collaborating with, they said that for example, the favelas in Sao Paulo, they have this problem that the organization can't reach around 30% of the families that need and can get the house. Well, we can choose Rio de Janeiro, but it depends on like the organization. Yeah.
You mentioned at some point that you faced challenges in terms of the people appreciating the kind of designs of houses that you implement.
Yeah.
Now this then makes me wonder whether you guys considered starting the needs assessment before you went in and noting something that perhaps they never thought was a priority.
To have a priority for the families?
Yeah, as in did you conduct the needs assessment?
Yeah.
To really establish whether their desire or the kind of design of houses they wanted.
Yeah.
What you were taking.
Yeah, there are 2 points there because, for example, when you have like development, but at the same time you have, for example, disaster emergency solutions, and when you have a number of families that you need to provide houses, for example, it's very difficult to talk to each family or to each community because you need some repeatability and modularity of the houses. So because the organizations, they work usually with volunteers, but at the same time, because of the scale, you need to try to make this scalable. But we're trying to do, for example, some work with communities in other kind of buildings, like community centers, for example, which is, for us, it's easier to have this kind of conversation with the communities. But for houses, because these are temporary houses, are not permanent, we are talking with the communities, for example. We have been doing some research, like what are the cultural values that they have, like, for example, an intermediate space, like a porch, for example, if it's important for them, for the life they have. Those kind of issues we're trying to incorporate in the designs we are using.
You're developing, how do you make it more general to different locations and not just specific to?
Yeah, we have found that that's the problem. So, for example, this organization is working in different countries in Latin America, and they were using the same model, the same exactly prototype. And that was the main constraint because, for example, in a tropical area, to have the same timber house is a problem because it's too humid, it's too wet. In the desertic area, they are using exactly the same model, and that it was one of the main problems. So you can, actually you can have some some parameters that you can follow. For example, the dimensions of the house or things that you can repeat. But still, like the specificities of each, like climatic zone, for example, are very important for the quality of life of those families.